Oh, hi, I'm Felix. This is my bangkit experience. 2021 was quite a heavy year for me. It was hard. There were so many life problems that occurred that I can't tell for privacy reasons. But here's a few I can share about. I got infected by COVID-19 during the worst possible time. I also applied to multiple educational related positions that I'm passionate about, but I got rejected over and over again due to some politics involved, which I had to accept and move on from. Reality is hard. It was hard to accept it. I lost my passion and interest in learning. I didn't feel appreciated and accepted anywhere. One day, my lecturer recommended me to apply for Bangkit 2022. After checking out what it's about, I decided to apply for it. I was excited as I checked my email, WhatsApp, and the Campus Merdeka website every single day. In the end, I got an email from Bangkit announcing that I wasn't accepted, and I was included in the waiting list. I was left pretty disappointed and I started questioning about my worth. After a few hopeless days, on the very last day, I was announced to be accepted. For the first time in really long time, I'm actually happy. I was really thankful. My Bangkit experience has been memorable and great. Bangkit is an inclusive program and it's for us, students who are passionate to learn and want to kickstart our career in tech. As a machine learning cohort, I learn about Python, mathematics for ML, TensorFlow, and so much more through self-paced learning and IoT or instructor-led training sessions, which are led by industry practitioners from leading tech companies in Indonesia and beyond. Bangkit exceeded my expectations as I also learned about crucial soft skills like time management, personal branding and interview, critical thinking, and so much more. Last but not least, Bangkit also helped me in improving my English skills as Bangkit is an English-speaking program, and we also have English sessions every now and then. It has been a great experience being in this Bangkit environment. I truly wish I can be a part of this longer as this year's program is close to its end. As of right now, all of us are busy finishing our capstone project. It's a great opportunity to finally implement what we like. I hope me and my team will be one of the top teams. So all the best for every other team. Last but not least, before I go, I would like to thank everyone who made the Bangkit program possible and enjoyable. Thank you for helping me to rise up.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bangkit 2022 guest speaker session #12. How are you guys? We just have a holiday yesterday, and tomorrow is already weekend. For me, I'm doing great, and I'm feeling a bit excited because this is my first time to be a moderator in Bangkit guest speaker session. And I hope everyone in here are feeling excited as well and also in high spirits to learn and discuss together. If you mind, please share with us what you're currently feeling today in the chat. That will be appreciated. Okay, so let me introduce myself. I'm Sarah Yakairunisa. People usually call me Sarah, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. I am an alumni in last year Bankit as cloud computing student, and I have the honor to be the facilitator of this year Bankit, especially for class CC36. So hello again, especially for class CC36. So I would also like to thank everyone here for attending and for Bankit team as well for the preparation behind the scenes. Okay, so all right. Today's session is going to be interesting, very interesting, since we will be discussing with the topic networking in multi-cloud. And not only that, we also have Kak Imre Nagi as today's speaker. So for Kak Imre, please welcome forward.
Halo Sarah.
Okay. Hello, Kak. Greetings, Kak. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. What about you?
Okay. I'm doing great as well, Kak. Thank you. Okay, so for Kak Imre, thank you for taking your time, and we are happy to have you here for today's session. I think before the live starts, there are already some people who are greeting Kaimre beforehand. So for those of you guys, Kaimre Nagi here is a renowned cloud engineer and has a lot of expertise in IT and cloud. He's the co-founder of Scoders, had experience as software engineer in Traveloka, and currently he's a cloud engineer in GoTo Financial. Those who already know him may know that he has been going around as speakers for many cloud or IT discussions and webinars, and he's also a content creator. And personally, for me, I have watched some of his videos, especially when I was working on my group's capstone project, and it was really helpful for me to understand more about cloud. So yeah, it's an honor for me to be here, and also very precious opportunity for everyone learning with Ka Imre. So, for everyone, please pay attention and take some notes since it will definitely be useful for your learning in the future. Okay. Also, if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation or throughout the session, don't hesitate to put them in YouTube chat and we will discuss them together. Okay. So maybe that's all for the introduction. Without further ado, let's welcome Kap Ire. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Again, I'm Imre. I'm currently working as a cloud platform engineer in GoTo Financial. Probably some of you know GoPay. GoPay is part of the GoTo Financial right now. And then outside of the daily work, I'm also part of GDE program. So I'm Cloud GDE. And then today we are going to discuss about networking in multi-cloud. So probably some of you probably have experience working with networking in GCP or probably other cloud provider. And today, what we're gonna do is we basically will go through basic fundamentals of networking in cloud, and we also do a lot of demo regarding the networking, how to connect instances between subnet and between VPC and how to do that. And ultimately, we will work with multi cloud providers. We will have some demo about how we can connect to PVC, one in GCP and another one in AWS. I also have Discord server. So if you want to join, feel free. I put the link there so you can screen capture and then type it by yourself later. so yeah, again for introduction, I think some of you already uh, Sarah already told you about my past experiences, but apart from that, I'm also certified CKAD, certified Kubernetes admin developer, and then I'm also part of certified Google Cloud Professional Architect. So yeah, I also have a YouTube channel, so mostly talk about cloud. So if you want to learn more about cloud, feel free to subscribe or feel free to watch any video that you like. I also have podcasts. So I have two podcasts. One is Ngobrolin Startup dan Teknologi, and another one is Developer Blog. So it has tech genre, but the content is a bit different. One is talking about the startup people, startup technology, and a lot of things about startups. But Developer Blog focus more on what I learn in day-to-day basis as a developer. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions during this presentation. I don't know how long it will go. So I think feel free to jump to the live chat and then drop any questions about anything. So what you will learn today is about how to set up networking for your application running on multi-cloud provider. So uh, we will have a use case. I create a fake use case where we have something like a payment application running on GCP and also AWS, and then we want to know how we can connect them. But it will be the last demo. But before we go to that, we will go through every small step in order to understand how networking in GCP really works. So what you will learn, fundamental of cloud networking, and then you also learn about connectivity in GCP, how to connect instances between subnet, between VPC, and so on. We will learn about network peering. What is it? We will discuss it later. And we will also learn about one way to connect a VPC between GCP and any on-premise data center or probably cloud providers. We are gonna use IPsec VPN tunnel in this case, but actually there are several others way if you want to connect your VPC with other VPC in other cloud provider. For this demo, I'm using Terraform. The reason is because it's easy for me to reproduce the same thing, because when I create this content, I basically do a lot of things, create VPC, create instances, and then destroy it so that I don't get cost too much. So yeah, but do not get scared. We will go through all of them. Yeah, it's a demo everywhere. So please expect for every 5 minutes there will be demo. So we will start from networking fundamentals. So I think most of you already aware with VPC. Uh, I I think I attended one session in Bangkit last year discussing about networking, and then this is slide from last year presentation. We discussed about VPC. So what VPC is. Think about you have a data center, and then networking in that data center can be represented as VPC, virtual private cloud, but it's not physically available. You cannot see it physically. It will be deployed on the cloud. So you will have a cloud networking running, and it is called as a VPC. So in VPC, basically all of your things like compute resources or probably databases or probably data processor will run on that VPC. So maybe not all of them, but most of them, most of the computer resource that you have will run on VPC. So that's why VPC is the first thing that you need to know when you're doing networking in cloud. So if you see here, we have this is GCP, right? There is a internet, and then we also have a region, two region, US West one, and then US East one, and then all of the instances that we have here slash VM, it is deployed on a specific region and subnet. So we have subnet 1, and then subnet 2, and subnet 3. And then what subnet is, we will discuss it later. But one thing to understand here is that most of the computing resource that you have will run on VPC. You can separate it based on its subnet, or probably you can separate it into multiple VPCs. You can do anything you like. So why? So become before we go to the VPC in GCP in more detail, I think this is one thing that you need to know. Traditionally, the VPC is designed based on the region. So let's say that we have data center on Singapore, and then we also have data center in Jakarta, let's say. And then traditionally, data center in Singapore will become one VPC, and then another one in Jakarta will be another VPC. In order for the application to connect, you're gonna have to set up VPN tunnel or any other connectivity approach that is available. So that's how it is done traditionally. So in this case, we have US West, and then we have US East. One of these are VPC. I'm sorry, each of these are VPC. So this is VPC, and then this is VPC, and then you run your compute engine here, and then you need to connect via VPN tunnel if you want to talk with other server. But yeah, I already explained this, so it's pretty much similar. So if you want to connect all of this VPC, right? You have VPC in America, you have VPC in San Francisco, you have VPC probably in Texas, in New York, and then so on. And then you can connect it via VPN gateway so that all of the VM in each VPC can be connected each other. But it is different with Google. Google doesn't do it that way. Google has a global VPC. What does it mean by global? So when you create a VPC, you will have all of the regions as a part of that VPC. So region will be presented as subnet. So let's say you have a data center in Singapore. It will be a subnet. And then there will be a data center in Indonesia. It will be another subnet. So by doing so, in order to connect all of the applications, let's say in any region in the world, you don't need to have connectivity like, let's say, VPN tunnel. You just need to set up some firewall so that one application running in Singapore can access application running in Jakarta, and vice versa. Or probably if you have other region, you can also do it that way. So it's pretty much simpler. You don't need to set a VPN tunnel, or probably you don't need to set any transit gateway or something like that. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's simplified. So you only have one global network that can connect with all of the subnet can connect globally with any region in any part of the world. Uh, you don't need a VPN. Probably you might need few, but you don't need to have many VPN in order to connect all of them. And then, yeah, basically, because it is simplified, the management of that networking is also become easier. So we will start our first demo. So how to create a VPC in GCP. So I already have a Terraform script here to define, let's see, do I have an image? Oh, yeah, let's start with VPC. So I already have a Terraform resource here. It is called Merchant Infra. So we will have a VPC called Merchant Infra. The project is named CogPay. It's not GoPay. I tried to change the name, so it's not really obvious. It's a CogPay. Assume that CogPay is a payment app, something like that. And then we have one VPC just to deploy all of the services related to merchant. So we call the VPC name as merchant infra. So what we're gonna do is we will create this VPC. So this VPC routing mode is global, and then we will not have a default subnet. We will create several subnet later. So this is what we need in order to create VPC. But if you want to create VPC, you can also do it from the GCP console. But I'm not doing it that way because it takes so much time. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run pf by output. So we will create a VPC, and then while waiting for this, let's see. Yeah, it will create a new VPC named merchant infrastructure, and then we will go to the one. We don't have anything here, but if I refresh, we will have new VPC. So this is the start. Every time you want to create an application, you must set your VPC yourself. We already have merchant infrastructure right now. We have one VPC, but we don't have subnet. So what's next? Next, we will need to create subnet. So what's subnet? So you imagine that VPC is a network, right? And then to divide that into region or divide that into some other logical way, you need to create subnet. Let's say in GCP, if you define one subnet, that subnet must be attached to one region. So let's say we have Asia Southeast 1, it's a region, right? So you will create a subnet specific for Asia Southeast 1. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a merchant infrastructure, VPC, and then we will have two subnet. The first subnet is in Asia Southeast 1, and then this is the CIDR. We will discuss about CIDR later. And then this is Asia Southeast 2, which is Jakarta, and then we also have one subnet there, and then with a different CIDR. So if you see here, we have two IP CIDR that will be used by the VM or any resources created on that region. So if you create, let's say, a VM, that VM will have IP address that is belong to this CIDR. So that's something that you need to pay attention to, because why do we need to think about this IP address? Because if we, let's say, if you have requirements where you need to have, let's say, more than 500 instances, in order to achieve that requirements, you will need to think about how many IP address that you need to prepare. And then, okay, at least I will have 500, but you cannot have exactly 500. You need to have at least 512 because it's binary. And then that's how you're going to define CIDR. We will discuss it later. But keep in mind that everything that you create, let's say VM, databases, if you assign it to a specific subnet, it will have the IP that is assigned to that subnet. The IP from the CIDR assigned to that subnet. I hope that makes sense. So this is a bit introduction about CIDR. I think some of you already got this from the lecture in Bangkit as well. But we typically define CIDR. CIDR is a range, right? It's IP address range that you will use in order to get the one IP address for your compute engine. So let's say I have CIDR 10.0.0.0/16. What does it mean? This means that this CIDR will contain 65,000 IP addresses. And then if you need less than that, you can also change the range here by using, let's say I want to have 500 IP address, as I mentioned, and it means that I will need CIDR with /23 range. So if I do it this way, I will have IP address starts from 10.0.0.0 to 10, I cannot recall exactly. You can see it from the CIDR calculator, but you the 500 IP address will start from 10,000, and then you add 512 IP addresses to the start, and then you will get all of the IP address that is possible for that subnet. So that's how we do it. And then yeah, let's create a subnet. So after we have a VPC here, we will create a subnet. We will create a subnet, and then the subnet that we have will be assigned to every region. The first subnet is Asia Southeast 2, this one, and I assign these IP addresses. And then the second subnet will be assigned to Asia Southeast 1, which is Singapore, and this is the IP address. So you can see that the IP address range is different, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run tf apply auto approve again. I think 1 hour will not be enough for this talk, but yeah, let's see. We are creating 2 subnet right now. If we go back to this one, you will start see new subnet is created. So this is subnet from a merchant infrastructure, and then we have 2 subnet, and then this is the IP address that we already assigned to the subnet. So all of the VM that is created and assigned to the subnet will have IP from this range. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to ask the questions. Okay, so next, what's next? So now we're going to talk about connectivity inside VPC in Google Cloud. So we already have 2 subnet, right? The first subnet is Asia Southeast 1, and then we also have Asia Southeast 2. And then if we want to create 2 VM, how to connect it? Is that automatically connected, or do we have to do other things? That's something that you need to be aware of. How to do that? Let's deploy VM and then check whether it can access each other. So how to deploy VM? And then again, I already prepared 2 VM modules here. The first VM will be deployed on the first subnet, Asia Southeast 2, and then the second VM will be deployed to the Asia Southeast 1. And then we will have to set a firewall so that I can SSH to that VM, so we can access it from the inside. And then let's see. So we will create a new VM right now. 2 VMs, sorry. Let's see. Typically, it will run very quick. Let's see what's next. Okay. So we will go to this one, compute engine. So this is VM instance. I think some of you already know about this. If you're working with cloud, I think compute engine is the basic instance that you can use for compute. So now we already have 2 instances. The first one is deployed in Asia Southeast 2A, the first subnet, and this is the second subnet, merchant service 01, merchant service 02. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna SSH to this box. Wait, I'm not open it there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is the way to SSH, and then we will open SSH on another terminal. Okay. So now you see that there are 2 instances, right? 01 and 02. And now we want to check whether we can access one each other. So from merchant 01, we will try to access merchant 02. And from 02, we will try to ping 01. So what I'm going to do from here, I'll try to ping, but we don't get any response. Why? I don't know. And then we will try to do it the other way. And then we also don't get any response from the destination. So what happened? So that's the basic feature that we have from VPC. So because VPC is networking, one of the most important thing that we need to have in networking is also the security. So it doesn't mean that by default, if you have 2 instances inside a VPC, it can also access each other. So that's why there is some things called firewall that that needs to be in place so that one VM can access another one and the other way around. So what do we need right now? If you aware, previously we already set some firewall, right? But it's for SSH. Now the firewall is only open the access to port 22, which is the one that we use for SSH. And it can be accessed from any instances as long it is authenticated. But right now, what do we want is we want to create another firewall that will give us access to ping VM each other. So now I'm gonna create another firewall here, which will allow protocol ICMP that is used for ping, and then I will add those two CIDR range that we get from each subnet to source range, so that let's say if the request coming from 01 to 02, it will be allowed, and from it if it is from 02 to 01, it will also be allowed. So that's why we need to do it this way. So this is just a firewall. I'm going to show it to you when it is created on the console. But now I will just TF apply again. So when it creates the firewall, we will start seeing that there will be request response showing up here. Hopefully, see now you should start seeing there are response from each server to another. So that's why we need to have firewall. How does it look on the console? If you go here on the VPC, you, and then open the VPC of merchant infrastructure, you will see there is a firewall rule. So in this firewall rule, we already have SSH that we defined earlier. And then now we also add another firewall rule that allowed access for ICMP from, I cannot open it, that allow access from this CIDR range. So this means that all of the VM right now will be able to be accessed from these CIDRs. Does it make sense? I hope that does make sense. Yep. And then next, let's see. Okay, so now I think we already have it. We already have the VM accessing the destination. Now, what if we have another VPC and we want to talk with the instance in other VPC? What should we do? So we know that the VPC network is isolated. What does it mean? Isolated means that uh, you need to have several configurations so that the other VPC can access it. But by default, it is isolated unless you specifically configure it so that it is accessible from outside. So the question is now, what if multiple VPC in GCP want to communicate each other? So let's say now we already have the merchant infrastructure, right? What I want to have is I will have another VPC named consumer infrastructure, which actually run all of the application related to consumer. So let's say if you're using an application, you are the consumer, right? And then all of the requests that you send via your mobile app will be handled by all of the servers on this VPC. But apart from that, this consumer VPC need also talk to merchant VPC. So probably to complete some other tasks. So the question is now, is it possible to connect these VMs? What to do? So that's something that we need to uh, take care of. So before we do that, let's create a new VPC and deploy new VM, and then see whether the new VM can access VM on merchant infrastructure. So what we're gonna do, I already prepared the resources. We will go through it. Let's see. So what we will do, we will create another VPC, same as before, but now the name is consumer infrastructure. We will create another two subnet. The first one is in Jakarta, another one is in Singapore with different CIDR than before, because every subnet need to have different CIDRs, right? No, it might not be true, but in this case, I simplified by making the CIDR range for all of the subnet different. So this is the first CIDR, this is the second CIDR, and then we also need to set up firewall rule for that VPC so that every new VM that is created can be accessed via SSH. And then I will also create a new consumer VM 01. So yeah, let's deploy it. So again, TF apply auto approve. And then let's stop this. And then I will open another terminal for consumer VM later. So let's see, let's go back to the VPC first. Okay, let's go to this. So now we only have one VPC. If I refresh, we'll have another VPC called consumer infra. And then if I refresh again, I hope the subnet is already created, but not yet. Let's see, refresh again. Fresh. Okay, so the subnet is already created. If you see, all of the subnet has different siders in here, right? 10, 1, 16 with a range 22, 23, and then there's another cider range. And then if we take a look in here, you should start seeing there is another VM. Wait, it's not created yet. Let's refresh. Yet, let's see what happened. So yeah, it's still creating. So it's creating. And then once it is created, we will SSH to that VM and see whether we can access the other VM on merchant infrastructure. Is there any question? I don't know whether. So I don't expect all of you to understand what I'm trying to say, but what I want to the message that I want to deliver here, if you want to become cloud engineer, so I think it's really important to understand the networking from the basic. So why? Because everything that you create on cloud will be deployed on the VPC, and then to understand VPC, you're gonna have to understand about networking, how message can be sent from one server to another server, how to secure the VPC, and how to make connectivity. And after that, once you got that basic, you can go to any cloud provider and then do the same thing. But the thing is, probably because the product offering is different, you need to take a look into the documentation and then doing it the way provided by the cloud provider itself. So yeah, I'm gonna show you that the same exact thing can be done in other cloud provider later. But for now, let's focus on GCP. So I'm gonna gcloud SSH. I will go here. So what I'm gonna do, I will check this IP address, and then I will try to ping it from here. Oops. But I don't get any response. If I try to SSH from the merchant infra to probably the consumer, I don't get anything yet. So how to connect that? So there is one way that you can do. Probably there are several ways. You can also use VPN tunnel. You can use any other way. But right now, what we want to discuss is about VPC peering. So VPC peering is a one way that you can use in GCP to connect one VPC with another. So I think in AWS the term is also the same. It's called network peering, if I'm not mistaken. But the concept is the same. You connect one VPC with another VPC. So that's how VPC peering works. So in order to do that, basically every VPC will need to create their own two bridge. The first one is from network two, from network one to network two, and from network two to network one. So that's why here you see there are two arrow, right? So it represents the tunnel that is created between VPC, or the peering connection that happened from one VPC to another. So this is something that we were going to do. So what we're going to do is we will just add VPC peering to the VPC that we already created before. So how to do that? So it's easy. You can do it from the console, but I'm not doing it that way. I will just use my Terraform script here. I will create two connectivity. First one from merchant to consumer. So we will have one tunnel, and the second one will be from consumer to merchant. So you can see it here. The network here is the merchant infra, the peer network is consumer infra, and for the second resource, it will be the other way around, consumer infra and merchant infra. So by doing it this way, we will be able to connect the instance. Or not, let's see. I will try to have apply once again, and then see whether we got response from here. Is there any questions? Not yet. Yeah, no worries. Feel free if you have any questions. I will try to answer that. I hope the demo time is enough. Let's see. The peering is looks like it is created. So let's see from console. So how to see that? We can see it from, let's say, from merchant infra. And then if we go here, let's wait. Oh wait, it's not there yet. Refresh. Okay, so now in consumer infra, sorry, in merchant infra, we have connectivity from merchant to consumer. And if we take a look into the consumer VPC in here, we will see that there will be another peering from consumer to merchant. So this tunnel need to be established. So that's why that's how the instance inside those VPC will be able to talk each other and see. But in here, as you can see, we cannot get any response from all of the instances. Why? Uh, One thing that you need to always remember is about firewall rule. So in order to ensure there is connectivity, you need to ensure that there is a firewall rule that allowed the connection from one instance to another. How to do this? Again, it's easy. Already have another firewall rule here that allow access from this one, from the consumer, from merchant to consumer, something like this. I will just uncomment this. So by doing this, so if you see here, this is consumer infra, right? This is consumer infra, and then we will allow ping access from this IP address. This IP addresses is coming from the merchant network. So this is not IP address for consumer, but for merchant. So that's why you see 10, 12. If we scroll up, it's 10 and 12. It's from merchant infra. So by deploying this rule, we are allowing the connectivity from merchant infra, but not the other way around. Let's see. So one of these windows should be able to get response, but one of them will not be able to get response because we don't allow it. So yeah, let's see how it works. Okay. This is interesting. Oh wait, so I think I need to from here. Oh, the connectivity is down. I need to try to SSH again. Say, let's see, cloud. What is it? Cloud consumer. Okay. I need to go to merchant 01. SSH ping. I don't know what are the IP address. Let's try this. Ping. Then we got response from the consumer. But let's try to do ping from consumer to merchant. This one. So we don't get any response. The reason is because we only set the firewall from for one direction. So if you want to get connectivity from the consumer service to merchant service, what you need to do is define the firewall rule in merchant VPC so that it allows traffic coming from the consumer service. So that's how you need to know about VPC, subnet, and then firewall rules. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's go to the, wait, I pressed wrong button. So yeah, I think we are coming to the last part that will take time to set up. But bear with me, don't get confused. All of the concept will be the same, but the thing is we just need to work on new cloud provider right now. It's not only GCP. So why do we need this? So actually, there will always be use case where you need to connect with your partner. So let's say I'm a payment provider company, right? Like I provide the payment services, and then let's say if you want to top up for the money to the wallet or something like that, you will go to the bank and then top it from the bank, so that the bank can tell the, and after that the bank will tell the provider, like the e-wallet system, that hey, somebody has topped up their money this for this amount of money. And then how that can be safe? You first, there are a lot of ways that you can do. One way is by doing it in secure connection. But how to get secure connection in public internet? So that's something that you need to think about. So, and that's where multi-cloud connectivity is really important, so that you can secure your connection from your application to your partner application. So that's why we need it. The other use case is that probably before you go to the cloud, you already have the on-prem data centers, right? And then and then you want to migrate to the cloud. But when you do migration, you still need to have access to the on-prem data center. How to set up the connectivity? You're gonna need the same thing. You're gonna need to set some VPN tunnel or any other connectivity. There are a lot of connectivities approach that you can do in GCP, but one of them that we will discuss today is about VPN tunnel. So yeah, what is the solution that I can think of? This is the problem. We have the consumer infrastructure, the VPC that we recently created, and then I already have a legacy application running on AWS. So if you see here, we have one VPC, and then in AWS we also have one VPC. But if you see here, we also have subnet. So the name will be the same. There will always be subnet in GCP, and there will always be subnet in any other cloud providers. So what we want to do is we want to connect the consumer VM01 to private VM01 here. So what is this setup? Because this is private, you cannot directly SSH by using public internet. So how to access this VM is by doing Bastion. You connect via Bastion. So this is in public subnet, which means you can access it via SSH. And then from this instance, you need to SSH to private VM. But for the consumer VM, it doesn't need to talk to Bastion host. It will talk directly to the private VM. How to do that? So we will use Cloud VPN. So if you don't know about this, I will give you a brief explanation. I hope time is enough. Let's see. So we will have two project. The first one is GCP project, and another one is, let's say, on-prem data center in here. So in order to connect this via public internet, we will set up a VPN gateway. So each of the each sites has create VPN gateway. So in GCP site, we will create a VPN gateway here. We call it a VPN gateway A in this case. And then in another site, whether it's AWS or other GCP, VPC, or on-prem data center, you will also need to have VPN gateway that you need to set up. So the concept will be the same, right? And in order to connect this VPC and on-prem data center, you will need to create tunnel between the gateway. So if you see here, in this gateway, we will have two tunnels. VPN tunnel 0 connect to the first VPN gateway, and then VPN tunnel 1 will connect to the second VPN gateway on-premise data center. So that's all. That's all the basic that you need to know. What we're gonna do in this demo, we will try to create this setup. We will create the VPN gateway on its sides, and then we also create the tunnel. And then you can see how complex is it. Hopefully it's not. It should not be. But I think, yeah, let's see. Let's go back to the slide. So yeah, that's simple. We already have the VPC, consumer infra. We will create Cloud VPN on GCP side. And then on AWS side, we also need to create our AWS virtual private gateway. It's actually the same concept. This is, we will create a gateway here, and then there will always be gateway here, and then we will create tunnel from each of this VPC so that it can talk each other. It will take a while, but let's see. Let's deploy it. So as you already know, the first thing that you need to create is that, let's say, you will need to set up the AWS itself. So I already have it. So we have the VPC here. It's the same concept, but different way in order to create it. I have the CIDR on the VPC, and then I also have subnet in AWS. I also have CIDR. There is another subnet. There is also CIDR, and then there are some net gateway, something that you need, you might not need right now, but there will another SSH rules for firewall. We are allowing port 2022, and then we are allowing ping, and then we also have another firewall rule. In AWS, the name might be different, but the usage is actually the same. In GCP, we have firewall rules. In AWS, we have the AWS security group. So that's actually the same thing, but different product offering. So that's something that you need to know. But the concept is it's firewall. And then we will have one VM here. Sorry, this is not the VM. This is the VM. So we will create two VM that you already see on the slide before. So we will create these two VM. So I think that's it. That's how we're gonna start the AWS setup. I think I already deployed it. So if we take a look in this case, we already have two VM runnings, and then what I'm gonna do is I will SSH to the first public instance here. Yes, I'm gonna open another here. SSH. Um, uh, I'm gonna register my PAM first. SSH A to add. So I will SSH to the first public instance. Okay, so I'm on the public VM, and then what I'm gonna do, I will SSH to the private VM. So now I'm already on the private VM. So if we go back to the slide, right now I'm already here. So the way I go to this VM is by SSH to this VM, and then from here I'm doing SSH to another VM. So that's all. So if we try to SSH from AWS to, let's say, to this one, we will not get any response because the connectivity has not been set up yet, right? So what we're gonna do? So in GCP side, the first thing that we want to do is we want to set up the gateway itself. So why do we need to set up gateway? Because that's how the tunnel will connect each other. So we will create a gateway, and then we will create a way or something like bridge or tunnel, so that this gateway can connect with on-prem with our data center gateway or AWS gateway. So in GCP, I will create new gateway, and then in AWS, sorry, this is AWS gateway. And wait, I'm gonna open this. And this is the gateway on GCP side. So this is gateway on GCP side, and then this is gateway on AWS side. So we're gonna need to deploy all of them. We will deploy them both. So I'm gonna do is okay. So now I'm gonna TF apply in our AWS side. Then I'm gonna do the same in GCP side. So it should create a gateway. And let's see how the gateway looks like after that. And now I will open this VPC. So if you see here, the concept is totally the same. So in AWS, there is a VPC. In GCP, there's also VPC. Subnet exists on GCP and AWS as well. And then let's see. Oh, we need gateway, right? So gateway is on hybrid. Let me open it here. Oops. Okay, that's okay. So yeah, this is the gateway. We already have the gateway. If we go back to this image, this is the gateway that we are talking about. And then on AWS side, there should be another gateway. So this is the gateway on the other side. And if we refer back to this image, this is the gateway. So why it's not two gateway in AWS? Because by default, AWS can you just need to create one gateway in AWS if you want to connect it with other provider. But you got the idea, right? In order to connect it, you need to have the tunnel, the gateway first. So we spawn tunnel in each side. So that's the thing. We already have IP address here. And then we also have a virtual private gateway in AWS side. And then we also have, let's see, do we have customer gateway? Not yet. So next, what we're gonna do so that the gateway can talk to each other. The second step is we need to tell this gateway that which one the destination or which one the other site that this gateway will connect to. So in this case, we have this VPN gateway. We need to tell this gateway that there will be another gateway with a particular IP addresses that will connect to that gateway. So what we're gonna do is we will need to tell AWS, hey, AWS, sorry, open it on the wrong side. Hey, AWS, we will go to AWS first. We need to tell that IP address from GCP side. So we create something called a customer gateway. So how to do that? We will take this IP address. I will change it first. and then I will take another IP address so that AWS know which IP gateway in GCP site to connect with. And then what I'm gonna do, I will deploy, I will deploy, I will deploy AWS first. So I will create a new customer gateway in AWS and some other things actually. I will share the repository, but this is the simplified version. But if you open this module, AWS Customer S2S or any other module, actually there are a lot of things that is created. The first one is the customer gateway. Another one is the VPN connection. But you don't really need to know right now. You can check it later. But that's how we do it. So let's see from this one. It's still creating. It's already creating the customer gateway. So now the AWS site already know which gateway from GCP that it wants to connect with, and then it creates the VPN connection. And then the setup in GCP site will be a little bit difficult. So, but let's go to it later. But let's wait for this now. What we will see in AWS side is that you will see something here. You will see that AWS now know about the IP address of GCP. So the gateway 0 and the gateway 1 is actually has two different IP addresses. And then we will have the virtual private gateway that we all created before, and another one is site-to-site VPN connection. So it's still in pending state, so we need to wait until it's ready actually. But if we take a look here, this is the configuration that we need to set up on GCP side. And now we have let's I think for this uh, for in AWS, you need to set up two customer gateway, right? Because GCP has two IP addresses. This gateway has two IP addresses, the first interface and the second interface. You see here, interface 0 and then interface 1. And then you need to set up in AWS side. And after that, once you have it, you will have, once you create the site-to-site VPN, you will have tunnel configuration. This tunnel configuration will be this line. So you need to set this tunnel so that tunnel in GCP can connect to the gateway, and this tunnel can connect to GCP and connect to AWS. So the next thing that we want to do is setting up the tunnel. But from AWS, it's already give you the config that you can use. Let's refresh. I think it's pending. I don't know why it's pending, but if you see here from each of this, we already have the tunnel IP address. So what's next? I think this is gonna be quite difficult, but if you don't understand, no worries. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna set connectivity from GCP to AWS. So by using the information that provided by the AWS, we will configure the connectivity in GCP side. So how to do that? Now here you see that we have several tunnel configuration. We have 4 tunnel. One interface in GCP will connect to 2 interface in AWS. So that's why we have 4. 2 to 4. Yeah, that's why. That's why we have 4 network configuration. And this IP address is coming from AWS. And then there is also a secret that needs to be known by each of the sites so that they can talk each other. And then, we need to add some configuration that I think you don't really need to know for now. But this is the configuration that you will need to tell to GCP so that it knows about the peering configuration and a lot of things. I think that's more advanced, and let's not take some time to mentioning it. But the thing that you need to know is in order to connect this tunnel, both side has to agree on a secret or a password so that it is more secure. So how to get that? Let's go to this one. I did it incorrectly last time. So let's see. We will start with the IP22, the interface 0. So IP22 is this one. And then I will need to download the configuration. Download it. And then I will open it. This will be quite, we need to be careful because the last time I did this, it didn't run well, but hopefully today it will go smoothly. So let's go to the first configuration, right? This one, and then I will have this outside IP address. I will just copy it for the tunnel one. So for the tunnel one, we will connect it with this one. Okay. Why? Just follow it. And then for the tunnel two, we will have we will need to connect it with the same interface, which is interface 0 or this IP address, this one. So we need to connect it with that first. And then after that, we will change the secret. We will change the secret. How to change the secret? We grab the secret from this one. Okay, we get the secret. And then I think after seeing this talk, hopefully you will be able to decide whether you want to become the cloud engineer or not. Let's see. This is the first tunnel, and then the second tunnel will be this one. This is the IP that we just copied, and then this is the secret. Let's copy, and this one. And then we need to change this as well. How to change it? I already put some cheat sheet so that I don't forget. So how to do it? Let's go back to the AWS, and then let's take this IP address, and then I will just edit here by one. What was the value? I will edit 1, and then here I will add 2 to the last digit, 4. Okay. And then for the second tunnel, I will have this one. I need to be really careful in this. Otherwise, the demo will be fail. Okay. And then this is another IP address that you need to configure. What is it? You can read later, but I won't explain. That's too much. And that's all. You already have the first interface set up for GCP and AWS. Now we go to the next interface. And then the next interface is this one. So I need to change the tunnel. I will update the tunnel address, IP address in AWS side, and I will use this. Okay. Okay, and I will get the configuration download. Show in Finder. Actually, my heart beating really fast right now. Let's see. This is the second. Okay, this is the secret. Okay, that's the secret. Let's take the second tunnel. Okay, let's take this. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is configuring the inside cider. Okay, make sure I said it correctly. Okay, let's see. I need to plus 1, and then I need to plus 2. Okay, and then for the second one, this one, and this one, and here I need to plus 2. Okay, so that's pretty much. I think you already know the complexity of setting it up, but let's ensure that we didn't set incorrect IP address. 92, 9394, let's see. 6778, 140, 14142. Okay, let's check one more time. Another one. 222. Okay, I think we already have it set up. So let's deploy. Okay. I don't know what happened if I messed up. So let's see. I hope that it runs smoothly. So what we expect is that once the connectivity, once this tunnel is created, there will be connectivity established between GCP and AWS. So let's see. So you will see that this status down will become up, and then on GCP side there will be some information that we can see as well regarding the tunnel. So you start seeing the tunnel is already created. There are 4 tunnels connect to GCP. GCP from GCP to AWS, and then we are waiting for this BGP and then router BGP setup. So I don't talk too much about the complexity. So if you take a look in this one, so actually this is module that I created. So GCP, AWS, VPN, peer. So what happened inside? Probably while waiting, we can take a look. What happened is that I abstract out many things. The first one is the GCP peer. So previously, what we did that we tell AWS that this is the IP for AWS, right? For GCP, right? And now for GCP, we also need to tell about the IP coming from AWS side. So that's what it does. And then we set up 4 tunnels, and then we set up the router, and then we set up the peer itself so that it can connect each other. So let's see. I'm really afraid of this. Oh, it's still creating. It's still creating. Let's see. Oh, it's waiting quite long. Let's see whether we have questions. Can we pick one question while waiting?
Yes, okay. So there is already one question here. The first one is from Andika Bahari.
Mhm.
Perhaps you can show it. All right. In a local network, there are two power n minus two IPs that we can use in a subnet. And in Google Cloud's VPC, how to calculate the actual IPs that we can use in a subnet?
How to calculate the actual IP that we can use in subnet? I think you just need. It's the other way around. You don't define uh, how to calculate the actual IP, but what you need to define first is about how many IPs that you're gonna need. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Why? Because if you go back to this slide, let's say you want to have a 512, right? So you will need to define slash 23 as the range. And then uh, if let's say what is the maximum value that you can use, I think you can refer to the documentation for us for the each cloud provider. I think if I'm not mistaken, AWS allow you to have slash 16, which means 65,000 IPs. And I'm not sure about GCP. I need to take a look into the documentation, but it is mentioned on each cloud provider documentation. And then that's the maximum number that you can use. But should we use the maximum number? I don't think so. I think you need to start from the requirement. If you need 100 machines deployed to that subnet, you will just use the value that you need for now. Why don't we just use all of them? The reason is because probably we can minimize the collision between one subnet with other subnet. Let's say we have a VPC, right? So we have a VPC, let's say in GCP, and then we have GCP, another VPC in GCP, VPCB, let's say, and then both want to connect each other. But to minimize the IP collision, probably you need to specify some specific range. So let's say from in VPC A, in subnet A, you define only 10 IP address, and then on it start from zero. Let's say 10,000,000. So it's 16 address. Let's say 16 address. You use slash 28, right? But on the second VPC and the second subnet, you probably need more. Probably you need 64 instance, and then you will use the slash 26. And then if both VPC or both subnet has overlap IP, you probably cannot use some techniques like VPC peering and so on, because it needs you to have different IP address between the subnet. So that's why you probably will start with other IP address. Probably you will start with 10.1.00 and then slash 26. And then that's how you're gonna do it so that you can minimize the collision between IP address. And then yeah, I hope the explanation answers. So you cannot really calculate the actual IP address. It's already on the documentation. You need to take a look by. But the reason why do we need to set it up in the first place is so that we know we can implement, we can fulfill our needs. I hope it answers. Okay,
Okay, okay.
okay. I
Thank
think
you,
it's
Kak, for
done.
the answers.
Thank you, Sarah. Let's go back to this one. I think it's almost done. It's almost done. Let's refresh. I hope everything is green. Okay, it's green. How do I know it's green? Okay. Oh my god. Okay, cool. So let's refresh. So it's up. So we already have connectivity right now from GCP to AWS. So we have everything is up, but let's see whether we can access consumer service from uh, AWS. Oh, again, we are disconnected. I think, wait, let's see. Oh, this is from merchant service. That's not something one. Let's open it from consumer service, and then let's SSH again to. Wait, where is it? Oh, okay, this one. Uh, let's go back. Oh, I think I used wrong IP. Let me check. I need to go back to this one. It's public. This is the public IP. SSH mean A. Ubuntu. This one. We go to the Bastion host, and then we go to the private VM. Okay. Oh shit, sorry. SSH. Now we are on the VM in AWS. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna ping this, and then it doesn't work. Okay. Anybody know what could be wrong? I think we don't have time to wait because it's also delayed in the live streaming tools, right? So I think I'll just give you a straight answer. Let me ping it first from the GCP side. I think if you have answer, feel free to answer it as well. Let's see from here. Wait, I think I did it wrong. Yeah, that's true. The IP address. It already, you can connect from consumer service, this one, to AWS. Sorry, from AWS to GCP. No, from GCP to AWS. You already connected. Why this is work but this one doesn't? The reason is because when we define VM in AWS, I intentionally give the uh, connectivity directly. So if you see here, when I create this private VM01, I add another firewall that I didn't mention earlier. So that's why if there is traffic coming from GCP side there, it will be able to do ping requests. But if we go to the GCP side, you will see that this is still commented. So that's why we cannot reach AWS cannot reach the GCP because we haven't set up the firewall rule. So that's what we're gonna do last. Hopefully it works. So let's see. What we expect is that after we execute this will run. And that will be the end of the demo. Yeah, you start seeing the request is responded by the GCP VM, right? So I think that's all. So yeah, I think I have several slides. I think I know that's too much, but I hope that this presentation can help you understand what is the role of cloud engineer in networking. We haven't really talked about how we're going to manage the stateful components like databases and probably deploying application by using CI/CD. We haven't really talked about it. This is just one part of the cloud engineer day-to-day task. So that's something that you need to know. Yeah, I think we are done. I'm really glad that we are able to finish this. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you, Kak Imre. So, Kak Imre has explained many knowledge about multi-cloud, PPC, networking. So, I believe everyone has learned a lot based from the demonstration as well. So, there are another questions from Kainova Mahendra. So, what does the industry use for two or more applications that communicate to each other?
What does the industry use for two or more application communication? I think the question is more like what is the use case for the industry to have multiple application that communicate each other. I think actually I already mentioned it on the presentation actually. So imagine about first use case where you have on-prem data center, right? Your application initially run on your home, and then you have let's say on-prem data center, and then you want to migrate to cloud. But at the same time, you still want to connect to the legacy application running on-prem. So that's why you will still need to have connectivity between cloud and your on-prem side. So that's the first use case that we typically do. And the other things is, let's say your application grow, and then your user basis is growing, and there are a lot of good things happen to your company and businesses, and then there is a point where you need to have partnership with other systems. Let's say bank. If we are coming from the payment system, we typically need to communicate with bank so that they can help us in probably doing top up, probably doing withdraw, and many things. So in that cases, you will need to have your application connect with the bank application. But typically, you can bank or any other third-party provider will not give you the public IP address. What they want is they want to have a secure connection, and how to do that is by using VPN tunnel. Because even though the traffic comes via the public internet, there will be another security mechanism that is happen on the tunnel itself. The tunnel that you already see has some security in place. So it will encrypt your data, even though it's going to public internet, your data will be encrypted, and then you can securely communicate with each other. So these are two use cases that you can think of right now. There are still many things. Let's say if you want to, in GCP, there are several solutions for communicate with Google Cloud Data Center as well. So probably you need to run some data processing, and then the data is stored in GCP, but the compute is stored on your on-prem, or the other way around. The compute is on GCP, but the data is in your on-prem. You still need to have connectivity. GCP also provides several ways of doing that, like the dedicated interconnect and that kind of thing. That is something that I will not cover today, but you can take a look. But that's the use case. There are many use cases that you can see where we can use the multi-cloud connectivity. I hope that answer.
Okay, thank you, Kak Imre, for the answers. I hope that answer as well to Kainova. So for the next question, it's from Andika Bahari again. Is there any specific case that we need two VPC in a single cloud provider, and do we still need a VPN?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there will be, if I should say that in the company that I'm working right now, we have a lot of VPC. So it depends on how you separate the compute, right? Let's say you want to separate the VPC based on the use case of the application. So let's say you want to separate the use case for finance. No, let's not. Let's use based on the application itself. So let's say you have one team that manage login or authentication. We call it, let's say, authentication service. So if the company will have its own VPC for the authentication service, it will be one VPC. And then let's say for other use cases for a product, let's say product services, and they want to have one separate VPC for that because there are a lot of things that they need to do inside the VPC, right? They will have different VPC, and in that case, probably the user service and also product service need to talk each other. So that's where the two VPC need to talk each other, even though it is in a single cloud provider. So you can think of that way. There is also another way where you separate the VPC based on the department. So let's say there is a VPC for financial department, finance department. There is a VPC for engineering. There is VPC for, let's say, I don't know, other teams like what other teams that I can think of right now? Probably sales or marketing and that kind of thing. You can also do it. But how to connect each other? You're gonna have to connect it by using peering network, like VPC peering that we have shown you earlier. And in other cloud provider, there will be the same way to do that, but the concept will be the same. You will be able to connect each the VPC each other. But yeah, that's the use case. And I think the last question: do we still need a VPN? I think um, some of you might confuse about the VPN tunnel that I mentioned. So imagine that typically some of you, if you want to interact with your compute, right? You need to SSH to a VM, but typically you connect to the VPN client in your local, and then after that you can SSH to the VM. I think that is the concept is the same. It is VPN. So what you did there is you open the client VPN, and then you basically connect to your instances in cloud or on-prem data center by using a VPN tunnel. It's a secure VPN. So, but in what we are doing, typically that VPN will also use IPsec tunnel as a security uh, technology, something like that. But it will be this. It will be slightly different. The use case is a bit different. In what I just showed you earlier, it is VPN between two data center, not from your local computer or from your local network to your data center. So it's a bit different. The use case is different. Do we still need VPC? Yeah, if you want to have secure connection from your local or from your internet at home to the cloud, you will still need VPN. Or probably that is the only way that is opened by the security team, so that you can connect to the instance. So I think yeah, that's the answer. Hopefully, it answer your questions.
Okay, thank you, Kaimra. I hope it answers to Andika as well. Upcoming questions. It's from Adi Purnomo. Is there any limitation when using a VPN multi-cloud?
Mm, I don't know. I think it's really depends on how you see it. But I think what you need to care of is not about the limitation of it as a technology, but the limitation on uh, the cost or probably the bandwidth. I think that's something that you need to be aware of. So let's say you create one, two, or four tunnels like what I shown you earlier. You need to know what is the throughput that you have, that you will have if you want to talk from the VPC-A to VPC-B. Let's say that you need a very high throughput, probably I don't know the number, probably 50 Gbps, something like that. And then what you need to know is that probably one tunnel might not be able to fulfill that, but you need to know how much the maximum traffic that can goes to one tunnel. So you need to aware of it. Why? Because you need to calculate about how many tunnels that you will have in order to fulfill the requirements, which is 50 Gbps or something like that. I think that's the limitation. But the other part of limitation is about money. It depends on how much money that you have. If you have, I think if your traffic is high, your application grows really quick, and then it has a really huge number of users, and then the use case is that VPC-A need to connect to the VPC-B, probably the cost will be quite big if you don't pay more attention to it. So yeah, in the end, what will limits you is just the money that you have to pay it. If you cannot pay it, and then you will not get the service. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Okay, thank you, Kaimra, and I hope it answers to Adi. Upcoming is the next one is from Haslan Muhammad Kodri. Is it safe to connect between multi-cloud, and how do we recover when there are someone do reverse engineering in order to break the connectivity security?
Okay, I can answer the first one, but I'm not sure whether I will be able to answer the second one. Is it safe to connect between multi-cloud? Yeah, as long as you're using the recommended way, like using VPN tunnel or probably using the VPN dedicated interconnect and that kind of thing. So I think most of the cloud provider that we are seeing right now, especially the big the big cloud provider, already think about it. So as a user or as a customer, what we need to do is just following the best practice that they probably suggested. So let's say if you want to connect securely from one VPC to VPC-B, and then uh, your application are using this kind of bandwidth and that kind of thing, they will recommend you particular technology, and that is something that is available on their documentation. I think that is something that you can take a look. There are a lot of recommendation, and then case by case, like context about your application, about your services, and a lot of things. And then even though they already provide you with the best security, doesn't mean that you don't have responsibility in ensuring the application connects securely. So I think you already get course, right, on Bangkit, saying that responsibility is responsibility of customer and then the cloud provider. So in our side, our responsibility is ensuring we have correct firewall rule. We have to be able to set up right firewall rules so that we know which traffic where traffic coming from, what are the IP addresses, and what are the ports that might be open for the other systems and that kind of thing. So that's part of your responsibility. So and then there is also another thing that you need to be aware of, like the security that we need to do is ensuring that the secret key that I used earlier is not exposed. I think because what we are doing right now is just the demo, right? I remove that infrastructure after this, so I don't really need to take care of that secret. But if you're using on production, if it is on application running on production, you will need to keep that secret safe as possible. So I think yeah, that's for answering the first one. How do we recover when there is someone do reverse engineering? I'm not sure about it. I think I cannot say that uh, we are unbreakable. Uh, there will always be something that can be done, right, in terms of security. So that's why there are a lot of hacker out there try to penetrate the system. But what we can do instead, in order to mitigate it or know the problem quickly, is by having something like probably enough monitoring, enough alerting system, and enough logging, so that we know when something bad happened, we can mitigate it and we can see what happened. We can learn from it. We can act based on the things that happen. Let's say there is somebody unauthenticate trying to call the system, trying to SSH to a VM, but it was rejected. I think that might be the alarm that you need to be aware of. That means somebody tried to access your system, but they were failed. And then that can be by knowing that information, what you need to do after that, you can act uh, you can act based on what happened. I mean, if you know what the IP address, what is the IP address, what are the user agent and that kind of thing, you can start open your firewall rule and then block them. So that's something that you can do. We cannot really, I'm not sure how do we recover, but I think it really depends on what actually happened. But what I can tell you is you need to be ready for it, especially when the application grow really fast and there are a lot of people that is interested in testing or playing around with your system. I hope it answers.
Okay, thank you, Kak Imre. I hope that answers to Haslan. So, oh yeah, if anyone here would have another questions, perhaps you already have question before and you want to ask again, don't hesitate to do so. And if there are anyone who wants to ask, you can put it on the chat. Okay, so next one is from Sulaiman Gadi. What about using WireGuard to simplify the network instead of VPN multi-cloud between multiple provider?
WireGuard. I'm not aware of this. I cannot answer about using WireGuard to simplify network. WireGuard. What is this WireGuard? Let me check. I never use it. Uh, more than secure VPN tunnel. I think you can do that, but I think the I'm not sure. But I think as long as it is VPN tunnel, I think you can always do it. But uh, why we use the cloud VPN or probably AWS private virtual private gateway and that kind of thing is because it is managed, right? So if you are using managed service, we don't really need to maintain all of this. What we just need to ensure is that we set it up correctly, and after that we pay it based on the usage that we uh, use. So I think yeah, I think if it is a VPN solution, I think you can use it. I'm not sure about whether it will be more simpler, because I think the main reason that we want to use the technology from GCP like Cloud VPN or Cloud Dedicated Interconnect is because we don't want to manage the VPN tunnel itself. So that's something that you will get. But if you want to deploy the WireGuard yourself, I think this is, I'm not sure whether it is company or a software, but I think it is a software that you can install by yourself. But I think if you do it, if you're using WireGuard, you will also need to maintain that. and then you will need to check whether uh, the setup is correct, and then there are a lot of things that you need to do. Probably that is something that we don't need to do if we are using managed solution. I hope that answers.
Okay, so thank you for the question and for the answers, Kak Imre. The next one is from Savionic. I think he or she is a machine learning student, and they have some question related to machine learning. So, as a machine learning engineer, what are the basic mandatory things we need to know about cloud platform in general? And can you give some reference?
Um, what are the basic mandatory things we need to know about cloud platform? I think security, networking, like what I mentioned. Why you need to know about the security is why you need to know about networking is because the machine or the VM that you will use probably to run your machine learning models and probably to run your API will be deployed on the VM. So I think that's why networking is really important. Given all of the roles that you have in cloud. Probably you are data engineer, you will still need to know, right, how your application running, and then how the architecture is, how the VPC was set up, and that kind of thing. Uh, that's something networking, and then you need to know about compute. And then I think it really depends on the use case of the machine learning that you're doing. Probably you if you want to do something like using managed service like Cloud Vision, or probably uh, I cannot recall AutoML and that kind of thing. You also need to know about that product itself. So I think uh, that's something. In other cloud provider, you probably need to know as well about what are the offerings that they have on their site, and so that you know how you will use it. I think, but in general, cloud fundamentals is really important. I think cloud fundamentals involve like networking, compute, database. Yeah, especially if you're machine learning engineer, right, you need to know all of the type of data storage, like whether you're gonna use blob storage or whether you're gonna use a SQL, NoSQL, and that kind of thing, because you're doing machine learning based on data, and the data must be stored somewhere. So I think that's something, storage, and what else? Compute, storage, networking, security, and that kind of thing. I think the basic, you need to know all of them, but it will be the next use case that you want to do will be depend, and then you can go deep on that use case, like I mentioned. And then can you give some reference? Yeah, I think that's all I can tell.
Okay, thank you, Kaimre, for the answers. I hope it also helps not only for Safionic, as probably machine learning student or machine learning enthusiast, but also everyone here who has interest in cloud. We based from the YouTube chat, there isn't any other questions. So if there are anyone who would like to have some questions or maybe discuss with Kak Imre, please don't hesitate to do so. In the meantime, is there anything from Kak Imre that would like to say, or maybe would like to explain more about the knowledge about cloud?
I actually don't know whether I have other things, but I think Go to Financial is hiring. So in case you're interested, we are open for a fresh grad and also for more experienced engineer. So I think if you want to get more information, feel free to reach out to me. I think, yeah. I think I need one thing. If it's okay, I think I will need some feedback about the presentation, whether you got it or whether this doesn't make sense at all. And yeah, actually leave your comment on the live chat and about the presentation. Probably if you think there is something that I can improve as well, I think that should be okay to uh, mention it here. I think one drawback that we have when we talk online is we cannot really see each other, right? So I don't really know whether you understand what I said, or I basically don't get any feedback, instant feedback during the presentation. So I think if you don't mind, please leave a feedback, comment, or anything you like. I think that's all. I think that's all, Sarah. I think, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Kak Imre, for your insights today. And again, I would like to repeat again. So, for everyone here, you can leave feedbacks to Kak Imre about today's session, today's presentation, anything that you might find very insightful about today's presentation. Please don't hesitate to put it on YouTube chat, on the live chat. Okay, so there isn't any other questions about in the YouTube chat. Oh, there are one actually just
Okay.
appeared right now. So, as are there any tips to understand learning from official documentation? Because sometimes official documentation is hard to understand.
That's really interesting. I think what I'm gonna say might be applied in any kind of learning. It's not only about learning from official documentation, but I think when you want to learn something, what you need to do first is asking. You ask a question. Let me give you an example. So let's say I want to learn about how to set up VPC in Google Cloud. So that's the first keyword that I will search on Google, right? And then from there, I will be directed to the documentation because it must be on the first page or probably on the top. And I will open it and then I start reading. Once I was there, I will try to make another question. So let's say the VPC, the documentation said something about subnet, and I don't know about what subnet is. So that's something that I will need to figure out. Probably it's not on the documentation, but again, it's another question that can be asked. Right? Open Google and then ask what is subnet, and then once you get that question, you can go back to the documentation and then go from there again. And then every time you found something probably like difficult word or probably you don't really understand what the architecture really means, you can always ask question. The most important thing is about asking the question, not a right question yet, because probably you might ask probably silly question, but I think that's okay. What you need to do is always asking about the question, what you don't know, and then ask and try to find it out yourself. So I hope it will be useful.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Kaimre, for the answers. So there is another question here from Igusti Agung Fife Kananda. So, is it better to use manage or serverless service like Supabase, Firebase, Vercel, or we can use cloud service like Google Cloud Service, AWS, and set up all of it by ourselves?
Okay, I think the answer is depends. So ask again, what is your goal? If your goal is to develop a product and then find the customer fast, what you need to do is I will recommend that you will use the managed service like Firebase, Vercel to deploy your application. But if you want to learn, or if you want to, if there is a mandate from the probably your leader to use a specific technology, I think we cannot really do anything, right? You let's say I'm already running on GCP or AWS or any other providers, and then it will be easier for us if we just do the same platform, use the same platform, and then after that we can focus on delivering feature and that kind of thing. And if you want to learn, I think that's okay as well, because if you want to learn, you need to get your hands dirty on this product, right? So I think it really depends on the goal. But uh, if you want to do uh, release your product very soon, I think it will be recommended to use the managed service like Vercel or any other managed service. But actually, cloud providers nowadays also have something like that. So you can also search and see whether the needs can be fulfilled by those products, and then after that you can start from there. I think it also happened with me. I want to learn a specific database. Uh, I can also use it on my side project. But if because I don't have any concern right now to release my side project really fast because I'm just doing it for fun. I'm just doing it for learning. So I think I can do anything I want during the process. I hope it answers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kaimre. I hope it answers to Agung. So, is there any other questions? Don't hesitate to put it on the YouTube chat. But as of now, there isn't any other questions arise here. So perhaps for today's session, we can probably wrap things up. Is there anything? Oh yeah, is there anything from Kak Imre that would like to say to everyone here? Probably like some sort of closing speech.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I think I really like this program. Unfortunately, I'm not able to contribute that much like what I did last year. Hopefully, I will be able to
Mhm.
have time for it next year on the next cohort. But I think th- this opportunity is something that we cannot get years ago. So I think uh, you are very lucky to have
Yeah.
this kind of opportunity. Why? Because we actually can learn. I learned about GCP and other cloud provider a couple years ago, but I don't really have someone that I can ask to, or probably if I want to have some discussion, I think it's really hard to find the correct people for that. But by joining this program, you will instantly get can be connected with all of the experts in this area, given it is machine learning or any other things. So I think my message is don't waste that opportunity. Try to optimize it by asking many questions, optimize your learning from those people, and yeah, hopefully you will be able to get your future job from here. I think there are a lot of success story from Bangkit graduate, right? So I think hopefully most of you or all of you will get it after this program. Yeah, so I think yeah, that's all.
Wow. Okay, that was a really great closing speech. And yeah, personally for me, as the graduates, as an alumni and a graduate student from Bangkit 2021 last year, I was very, very thankful for the opportunity because I was given many open opportunities since that day, and it wasn't really stopping from that point of the time. And yeah, I guess for everyone here, for the attendees, for all the students from Bangkit 2022, and upcoming students from Bucket in the future. Hopefully, we'll find this program very, very helpful for you guys to figure out what career path that you would like to go, and will brings you into something that you want, that you wish to see in yourself in the future. So yeah. Oh, there are some additional comments from Safione. Is there possible for you to do mock interview with Bankit students?
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem with mock interview is that it's really hard for me to find the slot for it, right? So I think feel
Mhm.
free to reach out. I really like to help people uh, be excel at the interview because I don't know. I think if you follow me, I already told people that I failed on more than 15 interview when I was searching for internship. So I think it really hit me. And by having that experience, I really want people to not having to not have to go to the same way again. So I think I really like helping people to do that. So feel free to reach out if you're interested. Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay, that was really cool. Okay, great, great. So, I think for today's sessions, we have heard from Kak Imre so many things, knowledge about multi-cloud, cloud in general, and it was a very insightful session. Kak Imre has explained many things about cloud, about multi-cloud, as well as the demonstration itself, and we can definitely see how cloud is becoming one of the leading technologies, and whether or not you have a career directly in cloud, this will undoubtedly be one of the things that will lead to many transformation in the future. And being knowledgeable about that will be a plus point, just like what Kaimri said before. So that was a really good session again. So once again, thank you for Kaimre for sharing your knowledge to these passionate people, and for everyone who attending the session and being active. So as a moderator, I apologize if there are any issues throughout the session. And hopefully everyone here can take a good notes about today's session, and hopefully it will be helpful for you guys to achieve whatever ambition that you want to do, and may you all enjoying your journey to be what you want to be in the future. So yeah, Again, thank you for Ka Imre as well as the attendees again. For Ka Imre or and other attendees for today's session, probably can continue for next activities. See you again and happy weekend. Thank you
Okay, thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you, Ka Imre. Thank you.